I apologise that I can't be there in person, but I do want to spend a few minutes building on the excellent comments that Brian just gave on artificial intelligence. Hopefully, give us some shape of where the opportunity sits for us. Perhaps it's useful for me to start with 3 key points. First of all, I'll pick up where Brian spent a lot of time talking about, which is that AI is an algorithm. It is in financial industries, from insurance to investment to banking, we are very familiar with algorithms, and we are rightly nervous of black box algorithms. And as Brian has highlighted, AI is the ultimate black box algorithm. The second thing is that the technology is evolving fast. This is not static. What we talk about today is out of date 3 months from now, and certainly 6 months from now. And we, regulators, users, and the broader community are also learning very, very rapidly how to work with it. And the third thing is that we aren't just talking about one tool. We're talking about a whole constellation of products and tools that are emerging on the market quickly, and they are increasingly specializing, so that we have vendors putting out products on a monthly basis that have new applications and purposes. And as they get narrower in their application, in many ways, it gets easier for us to be able to put parameters around the outside of those and the protections and the goals that we want. But it means that the regulations and the rules that we set now are probably going to be out of date 1, 2, 3 months from now, let alone 1, 2, 3 years from now. And that's a challenge. In Deloitte, we recently did a study across Asia Pacific of the impact of AI from an economic perspective by industry. On the horizontal axis, we looked at the length of time for the impact. So on the far left is today, on the far right is 5 years from now. On the vertical axis, we looked at the scale of impact. Where was the impact going to be largest? And guess what? We saw that financial services, IT, and media are the 3 most immediately and substantially impacted industries, followed closely by education and my own sector of professional services. And that shouldn't necessarily be a surprise to us. So we've become we use the shorthand of AI, but really, as we meet here today, we're talking about this latest generation of AI, generative AI, a term that has exploded into all of our consciousness and the broader public, particularly in the last year since OpenAI released ChatGPT to the general market. But of course, the technology had been emerging for some time before that. But what changed was that we suddenly had a product that was available for general use and for experimentation to a much bigger population. And suddenly people realized its potential. We realized that we were going from a world of AI where we were familiar with the relatively simplistic chatbots that we had. We were familiar with customer relationship systems that gave you the next best action or hint or service suggestion. We were used to basic insights into data, as advanced as those advanced analytics had become. And we went to a world where AI can actually generate text and responses that's almost human-like, that can actually adapt with questions and answers and carry on a conversation, can actually assist as an assistant to a human in complex building tasks over time, and can actually generate code, graphs, insights, and even design an organization for the future. Now, when we look at what I described before of the short fuse, the big bang impacts, the way that we categorize it is in terms of 3 horizons. The first horizon is today, and that is what we are able to use generative AI on right now. And that is to accelerate activities that we do with technology already that require a degree of sophistication and complexity. So tasks where we're generating code, we're able to use AI to assist us in discrete blocks of that code and logic. Tasks where we're generating insights, analysis, presentation material, we're able to accelerate that. Tasks where we're answering a single question for a customer, which is complex but discrete and human supervised, I can accelerate the activity of a single person, highly supervised, if we mitigate the risks in the way that Brian highlighted very correctly earlier. On the next horizon, Horizon 2, is the automation of minor activities. But for financial services, those minor activities have a major impact. If I just use the example of mortgage origination, banks around the world have been automating those processes for years. And yet today, at best, about 50% of instances go all the way from end to end without any human impact. Minor automation of complex processes can actually smooth already nearly automated processes, but have an exponential impact. As long as we can tackle those questions of accountability and we can provide better security and avoid bad actors getting themselves into the process. And then over the horizon, we start to look at the really brave new world of digital humans sitting alongside real humans, augmented workforces, digital FTEs, actually having machines doing tasks, white-collar tasks that have traditionally been done entirely by humans. And at that point, we really need to have a regulatory view that's strongly in place. We also need to have some social views that are in place. Around the world, we have lots of discussions about the goals, social goals of work, potentially reducing working hours. In a number of countries, discussions around the 4-day week as a potential goal. But something that 50 years of IT and automation have taught us is that productivity and social benefit are both hard-earned when we come to technology, because generally we squander these gains and turn them into new features and functions without necessarily ensuring that the benefit flows to those that we want. And that's a place where regulators, government and society need to play and say, do we deliberately want to take the benefit of automation and turn that into less working hours per person, or do we want to realise the productivity in other ways? These are big and important questions. But when it comes to financial industries, it should be no surprise that the benefits are immediately upon us if we can tackle the big questions that we've been talking about. AI works particularly well in data-intensive industries, and there is no more data-intensive industry than finance. It also works well in places where we have an opportunity to have many different pathways to a product and a service. AI enables us to do mass customization while maintaining mass standardization. That is a rich target area for financial services. Generative AI enables us, if we do it well, to put customers at the center and transform businesses around them, and to truly realize many of the goals of digital transformation. But it can only do that if we do it, everybody plays by the same rules. Now, I touched on, as Brian said, this has been a big week in AI regulation, with President Biden in the US putting down his executive order. But if I look across Asia Pacific, there has been a lot of activity in this space right across the board, but it has been remarkably inconsistent in the conversation. We need to come together, and we need to recognise that where regulation and laws typically operate in 5-year time horizons, we need to be working in 5-month time horizons at the moment, and we need to be prepared to change things that we put in place now as the opportunities and the learnings evolve over the coming years. And where I'll leave us, perhaps, is just a little bit of thought for all of us in the room about how radically different our organisations are going to look 5 months and certainly 5 years from now. Today, we try to orchestrate a range of systems. The best experts in our businesses typically are very good at knowing which system to go to, which has the data of record and the products and services needed for an individual customer or problem to be solved. In the future, those same experts will be supported by the integration of generative AI that will become the expert in where the data is, where the services are, and where the products are for the future. That's going to require a whole wave of reinvention. So thank you, and I'll throw you back to the panel.